It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
You're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guy podcast. Because apparently I'm flying so low, but that's all right. What's up, everybody? Just had a great conversation with Slade. I hope you guys will check it out if you hadn't seen it already. It was a lot of fun. Good dude, man. Good dude, and I'm excited to see what happens next for Slade and the National Wrestling Alliance. We'll be joined momentarily. Well, I guess we're joined now by the one, the only DKM. What's up, DK?
Hey.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a fun 10 minutes.
You too, huh?
Yeah, let's see. My computer started updating, then it restarted, and I tried to connect via phone, and it wouldn't recognize the microphone. So
you've been at it then, is what you're telling me.
I have been at it, or it has been at me. One of those two.
You missed out on a very fun interview that we just conducted with Spencer Slade. Heck of a guy. Very much looking forward to his run as the World Junior Heavyweight Champion. And if you guys haven't seen it, we just did it. It literally just finished seconds before this live stream started. So definitely check it out if you get the chance.
There was an interview with Spencer Slade.
Yeah. You weren't aware of this?
No.
Did you read the memorandum that we were sending out? No?
No.
Very good interview. He talked about his his hearing impairment, and he talked about the match that got him into wrestling was the WrestleMania match between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. Who are they?
Just two of the best. Then they also mentioned some of his dream matches, and obviously Kurt Angle isn't on the table, but he had mentioned wanting to work with Braun Breaker, which I was like, wow, that's wild, man. And obviously at this point in the game, he's in the NWA. Braun Breaker is a superstar for the WWE, but that would be pretty wild. He also said another dream opponent for him would be Chad Gable.
Did you ask him his legit weight? Now, Chad Gable, I could certainly see.
I asked him. We talked about his weight, and I asked him, and he said he works the NWA's weight, about 225.
I can believe that.
And I told him, I said, you're built like a brick house, and none of us actually believed you were 225 because you look like you're 250. I mean, you're jacked. Like how does one stay at 225 being as big as you are? And he just said, hey man, genetics. No, working at the gym. Working at the gym is what did it for him.
Well, and I think again, this is probably one of those things where we've been worked on weights for so long.
Sure.
That it's hard to tell what a legit weight is. But like, remember when Nick Aldis was champion, he weighed legitimately between 250 and 260. Hammerstone weighs legitimately between like 255, 265. He got up to 275 one time and said that he could not move as well. So, those guys are huge when you look at them.
For sure.
And so Yeah, if they're 250, I could certainly see Spencer Slade around 225.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not unrealistic to think that. It's wild to think that, like at one point your boy Jay was like 230, 240. And when you look at a guy like Slade, you're like, man, this guy looks so good. Like how am I heavier than this guy? But
I did notice in the title match from Power that he was, he looked bigger there than I think I've seen him look recently. And he was sure as hell ripped.
Yeah. 100%. He looks great. And again, that is available on YouTube right now. You can check it out right now. So
okay, well, I'm going to go watch that. You let me know what happens here.
Well, thanks. I can do it by myself. I can do this all day.
I think you have before, haven't you?
Oh, I sure have. I was struggling there to try to get the stream up on TikTok. We just got up there as well, so you guys can check us out on TikTok as well. Real quick, I see Steve G in the chat, and I had to throw this out because I saw it earlier today, and I wanted to share it with Steve G. The next National Tradition Lucha Libre show, which runs in Lancaster, is going to have Steve G's absolute favorite wrestler on that card. And I really would like for him to get to that event because I know he's a big fan. So, Steve, I know if you're in the chat still, you definitely want to go to the next NTLL show. It's let's see, the date of it is January 25th. Johnny Robbie's going to be there. Our friend of the show, Mecha Wolf, is going to be there. And a lot of other pretty big names in the SoCal area, a lot of lucha guys.
And where's it going to be?
Say it again.
Where is it going to be?
In Lancaster, California.
Where's Lancaster in relation to LA?
So it's about I want to say it's like 2.5 hours north.
2.5 hours north. Okay.
It's not possible for me to get to that event. But yeah, I feel like that would be a great show for Steve. And I hope Steve's in the chat because otherwise we're talking about a promotion that's not even connected to the NWA for no apparent reason. But love you, Steve. Yeah, Johnny Robbie. See, he's in the chat. He's there. Yeah, so that's exciting. And again, for those of you who didn't check it out or just now tuning in, just conducted a hour-long sit-down with the NWA World Junior Champion, Spencer Slade, and I really enjoyed speaking to him. I hope you guys will check that out because that was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm trying to, but you want me to stay here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know I'm kind of picky and kind of demanding of your time. But, yeah. So what's good with you, DK? What have you been up to besides your technical difficulties?
Coming down with the sinus infection again.
Oh,
and preparing for this year's most horrible winter storm.
I've been hearing people talk about this storm for a few days now, and it's not just you, it's everywhere. So yeah, good luck, brother.
It's supposed to be across the south, but I don't know. I'm kind of in 21. I was part of the Great Iceageddon that was without power for 4 days and lived in a freezing house, literally.
Yeah.
In fact, the last night before the power came back on, the kids had gone to stay with their grandma across town because their power had just come back. And so I was staying at the house with the 4 dogs that we had at the time, down to 2 now. And I can remember being an old man having to get up in the middle of the night, and even with socks on, or maybe 2 pair, the floor was so cold it literally hurt.
Damn.
And so now we're not supposed to be that bad, although there are possible power losses and stuff like that. But yeah, we're only supposed to be under freezing for like 70 hours. So hopefully it won't be too bad. And I can take the cold as long as I have power.
Yeah.
And so,
do you think you're going to have power the entire time?
I'm thinking, last year they had a prediction for another horrible winter storm, and it actually passed to the south of us. And so we got cold, but we didn't get any of the storm. And so I was talking to my brother today, and I go, it's really like a coin flip. We might get a really bad storm here Saturday, or Saturday might come and we'll get a little bit of drizzle or a little bit of snow, and it won't be much, or we might not get anything. You just never know.
And then the question to you, Jaden, being up in the Northeast, is the storm going to affect you very much?
If we get the pattern we're going to, we're anywhere between 1 and about 3,000 inches.
Wait, say that again?
We'll get between 1 and 3,000 inches.
Yikes.
So it's somewhere in that range. Yeah, it's possible we can get absolutely nothing and just get cold weather, or we could possibly get 1.5 feet. So, yeah, last time I checked, I haven't checked because I'm in class all day, so I haven't seen any other notices or whatever, but it's been very cold. The weather's been miserable. I mean, that's the Northeast for you. And it's at a little warm now comparatively, so it's like in the 30s and 40s and stuff now, but it's going to get colder, and we'll see what happens, because usually when the warm comes, it does bring at least some kind of wet weather. And New Jersey is weird because we have bipolar weather. We could have a blizzard and a heat wave in the same week.
Yeah, I get that.
Down here we can have it in the same day.
It has happened too, but it's just, I don't know. We'll figure it out when Sunday comes, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Right now, it's scheduled to hit about 1 a.m. Saturday morning. So when I wake up Saturday, I guess I'll know where we're at.
Yeah, that's the best way to tell weather, is just wait to see what happens.
Yeah. That's kind of all you can do, really, to be quite honest. And I, like, you get prepared, right? You get your
yeah.
I saw on TikTok somebody had made like a stove out of their tea lights, which I thought was kind of neat. I sent that to you, DK. I've seen other people take like those what are those clay pots? I forgot what they're called. Something
terracotta pots.
Yeah, and then use those as like with a little candle, and those end up doing pretty good for heating. But man, I guess I'm ignorant. I'm scared because I don't know exactly what you guys are in for. We got a lot of flooding and we got a lot of rain, and we're supposed to get some rain this weekend, but we're not going to have 20 inches of snow, which I've heard some people say like they're expecting to get ton. Like right here, Dave Scooby says calling for 12 to 20 inches of snow on Sunday, but yet it was 48 degrees today. Like, yikes,
Oh, we've been having a very warm winter so far. There were times we actually hit the 70s and approached the 80s and everything like that, and recently we've been in the 60s. So it's almost like when they first talk about this, you go, yeah, right, but then as you get closer and they keep talking about it, you're going, well, guess we'll get something.
As a northeasterner, the warm weather brings moisture to the air, which then makes the snow worse. There's usually a little bit of a warm up right before it snows, because if it gets too cold in Jersey, it won't snow because it's dry. So we need the moisture to do so. And the difference is we're used to it here. We're a hardy people. DK, they're not used to that. So anything they get is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard that too. Like, it's just, there's so
Now,
much.
I did grow up in snow, but I've been away from it long enough that, yeah.
After 7 years, your blood changes and you're no longer used to it. It's true. Your body changes, your chemistry changes, your blood changes, as they call it. But after like 7 years, your body is not used to the cold. It's just like we can't get used to that heat. It'll take us a long time before we can get used to the heat of Texas.
Yeah. Well, we get some of that heat out here. We don't really get that cold out here though. But
I heard I don't. Were you the one that told me that for like the first time in 20 years or something, California is no longer in a drought?
Yeah, well, for the first time since the 1971, all of our reservoirs are completely full. So that's very that's something, because it doesn't typically get like that for us. So that's a pretty big deal.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Don't waste it.
No, they will.
Well, cycles changed a little bit, but not as much as some people pretend. But in Texas, we kind of cycle through a couple of years of normal weather, a couple of years of drought, and then a couple of years of flooding. And so, I've been here 44 years, I think, 45. And it's, you can almost count on every 2 to 3 years that you'll be in a cycle that changes. But when it's dry, it's dry.
You have to go to the mountains to see snow, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, regularly. It's kind of funny because just on Facebook, you get the memories, and one of the memories just came up from like 7 years ago, and I walked outside and took a picture of my car 7 years ago, and it was completely iced over. We don't typically get snow on the lower regions of Southern California. The mountains do, and I'm only like an hour and a half away from snow if I want to go see it. But no, where I live, we sometimes get hail. It snowed maybe once or twice in the last 10 years, but that's not something we typically get.
Well,
I wonder. Okay, DK.
Well, and that's the concern down here. It's not. We don't get snow except for rarely. And when we get winter weather, it's almost always ice. And so
I don't like ice. Fuck ice.
Well, and look, I grew up in Nebraska. I remember, it snowed. It snowed 10 feet, and you still went to school.
Yeah,
and everything. But driving on snow is not that bad. But when it becomes ice, every year they show us clips from what used to be Minnesota and the Dakotas and all through that of people, wrecking all day long because of ice. So I know the South sometimes gets somewhat deserved rep for freaking out when it ices, but we may only drive on ice once every 2 to 3 years. And even people up north don't drive on ice well.
Yeah.
No, well, nobody. It's not made to be driven on well, and we get it often. And the worst part is for us is we'll get snow and then it will melt and then freeze again overnight and turn to ice.
Yeah,
and you can't even tell because it just looks like it's wet.
So believe it or not, in a past life, I used to work where I would install small VOP, voice over IP systems across the U.S. So at one point in the middle of December, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at I think it was about a week and a half before Christmas, and it was so cold. It was so
How cold was it?
well, hey, wait. It was so cold. And I had experienced driving in snow before. My parents actually used to have a house up in the mountains, and we spent a lot of Christmases up there. So I've driven in snow before. But what surprised me was the people who are unhoused. They were just kind of hanging out in the snow, and I was like, "Whoa, what am I seeing here? How does that even happen? How could you survive in that?" And apparently they do. But I was just blown away about how freaking cold it was. And I remember I had a warm jacket, but the door was literally frozen shut. The rental company didn't have a full, I was supposed to have just a mid-sized car. They ended up giving me a full-size van, which was a blessing in disguise later, because literally driving in snow, I felt a lot better being in that van than I would have in a little sedan. But the back of the van door was frozen, and I literally had to pull as hard as I could to get it open just to get my bags in and stuff. It was an experience, one that made me really enjoy living in Southern California, where today it was a high of 72.
Okay. I wonder which state or which area has the most diverse weather. I mean, because New Jersey gets hurricanes, New Jersey gets tornadoes, New Jersey gets earthquakes, even though they're very minor. We get 2 a year. We get blizzards, we get heat waves, we get up excess 115. We get everything but sandstorms, I think.
Huh.
So I wonder, what other what state has the most insane weather? We get floods. We get, I don't know what other weather is there. We get it all except for sandstorms and quicksand, maybe.
When I was in Nebraska, we got 4 seasons that were pretty well defined and 3 months long.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had. The thing I always remember, it's not like this anymore, but the thing I always remembered was somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas it snowed, because you almost always had a white Christmas. It was very rare not to when I was a kid.
That make Jay real happy.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yes. And then
what the fuck?
What? Just deal with it. And then you might not see the ground again until March. But then, it got hot in summer, having 100-degree days. I mean, we didn't have 30 of them like we do here in Texas, but, you had a few 100-degree days.
So how was the interview earlier, Jay?
It was great, and very happy with that interview. And I want to shout out you for helping get that set up, because I really
thought he was joking about it when he first brought it up.
DK is like, "You had an interview today?" I was like, "Yeah, man, we talked about it." And I guess maybe we didn't. I don't know. I thought we did.
The last I heard was there had been
all got worked out. Scheduling got worked out. Everything got worked out. And great interview. He was just a kid who grew up loving pro wrestling, man. And that I love that kind of energy and that kind of passion. He was talking about his first vivid memory of pro wrestling was the WrestleMania where Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar faced off, and he watched those two guys and said, "That's what I want to be when I grow up." And he literally has grown up to be like that. I mean, he mentioned some of his dream opponents, and his first one was Chad Gable. His second one was Braun Breaker. I gave him the comparisons that you and I, Jaden, when we watched the Crockett Cup, he reminded me so much of the Steiner brothers, him and Mondo, and he took that as a huge compliment. He talked about, growing up with the hearing disability. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I have nieces and nephews, or a niece and a nephew, both with hearing impairment, they have to wear those I think they're called Coliac. I'm not really sure what they're called.
Kolar?
Yeah, Kolar. Thank you. The hearing aids, and my sister-in-law as well. And it's funny because she told me when she gets mad at her husband, she just takes him out. Like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, that's awesome, but that's really messed up too. And he started telling me, like, yeah, man, I grew up as a kid and I got picked on because I couldn't, hear. I had a hearing disability, and I had to go through that. And that really put a chip on my shoulder. And coming into the industry and getting into pro wrestling, it was always, you can't do this because you have a hearing disability. And he did not ever let that hold him back. And so I really enjoyed the interview. We'll put that up later on Spotify. It'll be available on Amazon. It'll be available on iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good interview with it.
Flip the hell out of that.
Yeah, and I plan on it. And we were talking about when he comes back, we'll have him come back later down the road after he's got a few more title defenses under his belt. He actually broke the news too that he has his first non-NWA title defense. He'll be defending the World Junior Heavyweight Championship in a non-NWA ring on February 7th for Kentucky Championship Wrestling. So we'll be posting that, what's going on with him, just like we've been doing with Mondo and Thrillbilly and all the other NWA champions, because I think you got to celebrate these things, and you have a world champion, and I feel like that's the guy that needs to get, not just him, but Mondo and Thrillbilly. Like, they need that support now more than ever. And, yes, it's cool to watch the NWA champions defend their titles on Roku. And it's cool, like, if you can make it out to a signature live event or the TV tapings in Tampa, those are all cool. But I think it's so much more fun to go to an independent show and see that NWA champion defending in a territory, or not necessarily a territory, but an independent promotion. And they're bringing the NWA to a place that it hasn't been seen before. And, again, bringing that World Junior Heavyweight Championship to Kentucky, I think is a really cool deal, man.
Well, I think even back in the day.
Oh, back in the day.
Not a kid, wasn't a kid again.
I mean, if you go back just to, the 70s, late, early 80s through about 84. One of the things that was cool with the NWA was that you did get to see a world champion wrestle every now and again. And, it wasn't the same as a promotional champion.
Yeah.
I mean, it was special. It was special to me to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling and then come down to Texas where I had family and see big time wrestling and later world class wrestling. And Ric Flair was still there. Ric Flair was still the world champion,
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. And because, there was a time when, depending on where you lived, the world champion was Vern Gagne or Bruno Sammartino or whoever the NWA champion was, in the place. And that was the world champion. And that was the only world champion you knew. And that was the only place where they were known.
Except for the magazines. The magazines made everybody much bigger than I think the television even did, in my opinion, because I couldn't see a lot. Well, I was lucky and got to see a lot of television, especially later with tape trading. But I remember seeing all these magazines and seeing the cool stuff that Lawler was doing and that Rick Martel was doing and that Dusty Rhodes was doing, not when he wasn't wrestling for Jim Crockett Promotions. And it was nice to see, like, I something I also miss is how the magazines made everybody feel much larger than life. And that you felt like you're missing something by not being able to see what's going on in these territories.
Yeah, and when I grew up, the magazines were big too, but this was Jim Cornette that was talking about, and I think he was talking more like in the 50s and, after the 50s, after the golden age of television, when wrestling started fading out of the big time and becoming more local, which formed the territories. And so, like, you know, in the 60s and 70s and stuff like that, you didn't really know who the world champion was anywhere else. You just knew your world champion. And there were only a couple of big magazines. And by the time I came in the late 70s, early 80s, whoever was doing Pro Wrestling Illustrated had like 2 or 3 other things, and then there were like 10 other magazines.
There were other wrestling magazines for me, but nothing beat the top 3 of the PWI.
Right.
Do you feel like the death of, I guess it's still technically alive, but the print media, the loss of print media as it was, affects pro wrestling today?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, look, I had a wall that was dedicated to championship belts that I took from the magazines.
Cut out the pictures?
Well, you know, some of them came with like either a page or 2 of formal pictures, and Pro Wrestling Illustrated had like a centerfold or something.
Did you have that Misty Blue Sims cutout, pull out?
If you had a belt, then I probably did. Yeah. But I mean, like, I remember having 2 pictures next to each other. One was Ric Flair with 10 pounds of gold, and then one was Ric Flair with big gold. And, but, you know, that's where you saw like all the regional titles and stuff like that. So I could
Some of them are god-ass ugly. I'm sorry, but
most of them were horrible. But, you know, that's where you saw them. And that's where you could get pictures of them. And some of the pictures of the titles were just little horrible quality black and whites that, you know, they had with their article.
Yeah.
So it's been a long day, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little out of it, and I'll try to stay into it. But you know, this has been a very good week for the NWA, if I could say so myself. And I got to be honest, man. Our Discord was really burning up this week's episode of Power, saying how awful all the interruptions were, the mid-match promos. But I mean, outside of those promos, I thought it was a really good wrestling show. And we'll talk about this week's Power in a little bit. Also, I think it's noteworthy to talk about some of the news that's been happening with the National Wrestling Alliance. Aaron Stevens has announced that he has re-signed, not resigned, re-signed with the NWA. Kobe Carino has re-signed with the NWA. Kerry Morton also has re-signed with the NWA. And we have the news that Pretty Boy Smooth has officially signed a contract, an exclusive contract with the National Wrestling Alliance. That's 4 signings that we heard recently. And I'm wondering for you guys, is it important for them to make the announcements about these signings? Is that a big deal for the NWA? Is it just chasing clout? Is it just creating content? Or do you think it reassures fans that some of the stars that they've enjoyed watching wrestling are back with the NWA?
I'll start with this one. I think it helps because for every big EC3 that leaves, they need to find ways to say, but look, here's our stars. It's kind of like if you're a hockey fan and say you're unlucky enough to be a fan of the Winnipeg, not the Winnipeg Jets, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Thank you.
The Columbus Blue Jackets have this perception that people don't want to play there. And they have trouble getting people to sign over. And they finally got a really big star. And unfortunately, a tragedy happened. He ended up getting hit on the side of the road, him and his brother. and they were killed going to their sister's wedding. But they finally got a real big star that wanted to be there and was talking about it. And there was a perception was going like, all right, maybe this is the place to go. And they started getting a little bit better, and they started, things started looking good. And then unfortunately some bad luck happened. And they used that as a motivation, and they actually fought hard and were, doing well and trying to dedicate it to that player. But then this year happened, and they're right back near the bottom, and it's back to their thing was like, well, people want to leave, and there's these players that say they want to leave. That's the perception I think the NWA has too right now, is the only people that are there are the people that have to be there because they don't have a better place to go yet, or they're looking to get their name out there so they can go somewhere better. So when they signed these Colby Corino, especially after he said he was going to leave, and Pretty Boy Smooth and Aaron Stevens, who was a former WWE, by saying that, it's trying to counteract, trying to reverse that perception that they're not a place that people want to be. What about you, DK? Exactly, DK.
Exactly.
I couldn't agree more.
That's all I have to say on the matter, too.
Yeah.
My only thing, I think it's good to announce anytime you've got talent that's signed. There are two dangers that can come with it. One, when you're not announcing when you don't announce like certain people are signed, then you kind of end up going, well, what about so-and-so? What about so-and-so? Can they disappear at any time? Should I put any stock in them? Blah, blah, blah. And when you're not consistent in announcing that you signed people. And the NWA has suffered from the second one before. A couple of years back, they announced every single person that they were signing. And, big graphics and that Taylor Rising or whatever her name was. And Ricky Tikki Tavi, and we saw like Taylor Rising one time after that, and then Ricky Tikki Tavi, like literally within 2 or 3 weeks of announcing she was signed, she announced that she was having surgery and would be out for a year. And so it's one of those, if you're going to be telling us who signed, be telling us who signed. Tell us everybody who signed, and then we should be seeing them around after you tell us they're signed.
One of the things too.
Apparently, Jay was offended by that, and
yes. Here's one thing that the EC3 thing, whatever it comes out and gets out there, there's all kinds of things that's already been spoken and alleged, but he was a guy who was a bigger star, but he was also a guy who had probably a bigger payday. Him not being there opens up a possibility for somebody who is bigger to possibly either be brought in or be signed, maybe like a Hammerstone or something. And allow them to be locked up, because I know that they are running under a budget. I don't know what that budget is. I don't know if it's an arbitrary budget or if there's an actual, like, they write down and have like the finances and figure that out. But the fact that he's gone, it also freshens up the roster. One of the main problems I think the NWA has is some of these guys have been there way too long. And if they're always around, Jim Cornette says all the time, how can I miss you if you won't go away? But it's stale if they're there too long, and they've already done more, and then they get point where they get stuck where they're like, they're there and they get a little bit, but they never get anything else because they've already kind of done that.
Who's somebody like that right now?
As much as I hate to say, because I love him, but Trevor Murdoch.
I can see that.
And then also another one I'm a huge fan of, but Wrecking Ball Legursky. I think Wrecking Ball needs to be somewhere bigger, honestly. He's got the talent. He's got the personality. He was smart. He was very intelligent. He used the NWA to get a bit of a buzz, a bit of a star power, and he worked the independents, but didn't go overboard on the price. He was a reasonable price guy who has a name value, who is now being featured in magazines and online and the internet and on Roku or YouTube or X or whatever, he was happened to be on at the time. And he used it to his advantage and got booked a lot of places. And he gets over everywhere he goes, including the NWA. But outside of the NWA, he comes across as a bigger star. I think right now with TNA looking to expand, he would be a good fit for a TNA broadcast. So, I think that Trevor Murdoch
is that the real next level
right now for the NWA. Honestly, yeah, because what is left? TNA is not AEW, and it's not WWE. But it's a place that you can get up and raise your star power, and it's on a big network now, at least comparatively what it was. I don't think it's as big as Spike, but it was as big as it's been on a very long time. They got the working relationship with the WWE so we could show up on WWE television, and he gives them ability to wrestle new, fresh talent, be seen in front of a new, fresh audience, and continue to grow his growth. Fallah Bahh was a perfect example of somebody who took his TNA when TNA was even in a much darker time, and used that to build his popularity and get a following. And I think Wrecking Ball has that ability. He could do the same thing and move up and get up to this level, and maybe show up on WWE and NXT a few times, maybe do a Royal Rumble, or and then he's the TNA itself. That's something I think that's a good thing for him. I don't think signing with AEW, because AEW has so much talent and they don't use what they have well. And in all honesty, I don't even think Ring of Honor is I think that's more of a lateral move to the NWA right now. I know some people are like sitting there like cursing me and going nuts and going like Ring of Honor is the greatest thing ever. But it's right now it's a lateral move. It's on you have to pay to be there. It's not like it's on YouTube. It's the same as I think just to the Roku, except the Roku's free when it comes to exposure. And it's not like they're going to show up on AEW much. And a lot of the Ring of Honor talent does show up, and AEW shows up the job.
Well, the Ring of Honor talent that goes up to AEW, it's either because it's an AEW talent who they've sent down to Ring of Honor, or like you said, they're kind of working them as enhancement talent up in the, up on the big league thing. And I mean, just the basic idea that you're talking about there, which is, some people need to go away so we can miss them. So, I saw somebody, I don't remember who, Willie, I guess it was, asked what happened to genocide. And the only reason I'm answering this is because I know the answer. And she stopped wrestling. I can't remember if she got into bodybuilding or something else, but she stopped wrestling. And that's one of the things that some of this talent that you'll see on NWA, the newer, the fresher, and whatever, a lot of them, they'll wrestle for a year, 2 years, maybe 3, and then decide, that's not really for them. And I remember there was a brother tag team. Jay will probably remember who. But I remember there was like a brother tag team at one time that Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, may have still been NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood at the time, were pushing pretty big. They were in a feud with the Rockness Monsters.
The Cutlers. And one of the Cutlers is still wrestling, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but like it's all of a sudden you stop seeing him, and I asked Jay, I go, what happened? I go, well, they basically retired. Mm-hmm. And then one of them would come back. Well, I think they both came back for a little bit, not to Championship Wrestling, but they kind of both came back like a year later for a short run. And then one of them just, I guess he wasn't interested in wrestling.
No, and I think that's, I hate to say it, but I think it's pretty common for people to kind of, I wanted to do this. And then you get to do it. And like at some point, like I'm not going to get to where I want to be and then leave. Like you guys remember Scott Lost? Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So Scott Lost was a guy out here in Southern California. And besides wrestling for the NWA at the time, he was also a member of a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. He was one of the founding fathers of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And he had a goal set that when he got to 30, if he wasn't signed to a major company, he was going to quit wrestling. And he did. First time I've ever seen anyone retire and actually stay retired. He has not entered a wrestling ring since. And we're talking about at least 10 years, if not longer, that he's been done with the business. And good dude. And he was not like he was not a weirdo. He wasn't one of these creeps that got called out on Me Too. No, he was perfectly fine guy. He just like, hey, I have this goal. I didn't achieve it. I'm done. Recently, Misa Kate, formerly of the NWA, former NWA Women's Tag Team Champion, teaming with Ren Sinclair from NXT, she also hit age 30 and said, okay, I'm not signed. I'm done. And so she's just retired from wrestling too. And that's not unheard of. But it's kind of disappointing as a fan. I like this guy. I like this girl. And they move on. And that's okay because, that's life. But
well, it's a hard life.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it's a hard knock life
for us.
Anyway, it's it's a hard life, and it's not easy. And look, some people get into it just because they want to try it, and it's fun. I mean, I remember this one kid that wrestled around the area. He started as a referee and everything, and then he actually got into became a wrestler. And, man, I think he may have wrestled a year. And I ran into him somewhere, and I was talking to him. I go, so you still wrestle? He goes, no. He goes, I go to the matches sometimes. I go, you don't even referee? He's like, nah. He goes, I wasn't really that. He goes, I wasn't that good at wrestling at all. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and I didn't really just want to referee. He goes, so I just go to the matches sometimes and enjoy it. And it's just like, a lot of people, they either just want to try it and see what it goes, or they harbor dreams of making it to the big time. And, Jim Ross one time was bluntly honest and said, hey, 99% of you aren't going to make it. And so, yeah, I mean, they kind of like fulfill their dream to the point that they need it fulfilled. And then if they realize that they're never going anywhere other than where they are, or they have no desire to do what it needs to be done to get, to the bigger thing, like travel all over the country and, sleep in your car and whatever, they do. And I hold nothing against them. You're smart. If it's not for you and if it's not working out, you're smart to change.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I don't even know how we got to this topic anymore, but it's just one of those things that it's life. I guess sometimes people need to go away. Genocide. That's what it was. And it was, yeah, there are 2 or 3 people in the NWA that could probably take a year out of the NWA and either not do anything or go somewhere and learn a new hold, or, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, he worked enhancement in Georgia. He worked enhancement in New York. He worked enhancement, I think, in Florida. And enough people saw something in him that they sent him to Bill Watts and said, Bill, we think that you can probably do something with this guy. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan was born. He went from Big Jim Duggan to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And
no, he went to Hacksaw Jim Dugan. Get it right.
Dugan.
Good old Bill Lott.
And so that was one of the benefits of the territory system, was that you could sit. A lot of people don't know, but the guy that was Lance Von Erich, Fritz had decided to use him as another Von Erich about 2 years before we ever saw him in Dallas. He got him a little bit of training here and then sent him up to Portland, where he wrestled underneath the name Ricky Vaughn. His real name was William Vaughn.
Wild thing.
And so
I got it. I got the reference.
Yeah, so he got he even won the title up there. And then Fritz brought him back. And that was something that wasn't uncommon. And so, I don't know. Just, it's one of those things to remember when we start dreaming about, the big people and who's going to be a big star and everything like that. This isn't cut out for everybody. No, not everybody's interested. I remember Burchill and someone telling me how lucky the NWA was to get him because, the big companies were looking at Burchill. I'm like, if the big companies were looking at him, he would have signed there.
Yeah.
I go.
They wouldn't have though, because his thing was he was he a fireman, I think, or an EMT? Yeah. Fireman, I think. EMT, and that was his thing. But the wrestling though, he still loved it. So the NWA would have been perfect for him if he stayed with him. I don't even know if he's gone or whatever. But last time I heard is he only had so many days he was allowed to take off.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm just talking about if he wanted to be a wrestler again, this, and let's be honest, I never enjoyed him in the ring.
You never enjoyed Burchill at all?
Not this last run where, came back after all the time. No. He looked like an old, rusty, semi out of shape wrestler when he first showed back up. Then he got back into shape, but he still kind of just seemed like an old, rusty wrestler.
Yeah, I get that.
And his heart was in it.
Yeah, not everybody can reinvent themselves. Not everybody's going to be Mondo. He's got a heart of 7. He's got 7 hearts. His heart's so big. Yeah, but not everybody's Mondo. Mondo has 100% reinvented himself and made himself. He was a guy who was barely interested in wrestling from one of the best I got understanding, and all of a sudden came back, and now look at him. He's amazing. Not everybody can do that too. It's hard to be in business. So many people have also a delusion of grandeur. They think that there are so many things that they're going to be the greatest thing in the world, and they also think a lot of people think wrestling's easy, just like pimping. It ain't easy, and it's not easy. And people have this think that it's like landing on a trampoline and that it's all fake. And I did it in my backyard. I could do it as a pro, and it's not even close to the same. And then the travel gets to you, and the politics get to you, and the dealing with people get with you. And one thing here, this is something that's probably going to be shocking. I know very many wrestlers who hate wrestling fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. They will never admit it to any wrestling fans. Wrestling promoters hate wrestling sometimes too. It's part of being a promoter.
Get all of that.
But there's so much you have to deal with in the professional wrestling business. It gets tiresome. It wears you out. You really, really, really have to love it to stay in it. And if you're in it to honestly like, oh, I want to be here to this time, and then if I don't make it, then I'm done. And honestly, those people, very rare. It's very rare that the people that set that goal to do so, they have a harder time making it than the people that don't, because they put so much pressure on themselves and they do all this stuff, and they let all the negativity get to them. And that's one of the reasons they leave. If you love the business and you're doing it for the love, then you're just going to do it. But there's also people who may love the business, need to get the hell out too. New Jersey's full of them. There's so many wrestlers that don't belong in the ring. Probably half of them never belong in the ring to begin with. But there's so many promotions out there that are old guys who are well past any kind of prime they are, and they're just hanging around, gumming it up for people that are actually trying to be an actual real company, and taking up buildings and taking up ticket money and making it an embarrassment for the people that are actually trying it. And then, you get these young kids who they tell them all these things like, oh, you're going to be amazing. You're going to be a star and you're going to be the biggest thing ever. And just give me $500 and I'll train you and I'll make you huge. And, oh, and since you're a young, cute girl, stay at my house and I'm going to sleep with you. But I'm going to help you get into the wrestling business because you're going to go to the WWE and I'll get you there. There's a lot of that too.
That's a shame because there are some really good talented people out there. And I feel like you just said, those kind of cancers to the scene are what make it difficult for guys like our friend Dr. Lawrence Zirconium, who's running Dangerous Drone Wrestling Gladiators. It makes it hard for guys like DKM, trying to run IHWE, taking away these opportunities for people who just have the best intentions to, hey, all I want to do is put on a fun wrestling show for families to come watch pro wrestling. Maybe they can't afford to go to a WWE event and come watch good wrestling here. And I'm going to do it the right way. And I'm going to promote good talent and I'm going to put on good matches. And it makes it hard when it's so cluttered with essentially cancers to the business. And that sucks.
Yeah.
Real quick, because we don't do a podcast without reading a Tyrus joke from Willie Bowen. So if you will, indulge me. Willie says, hey, Jay, Cal Tyrus has a new song. It's Throw Up. You need to workshop that one, Willie. There's potential there. But you need to work on that one a little bit. And then also in the chat, they're talking about WOW, which is coming back to Vice this week. And I'm happy for the people in WOW. Of course, friend of the show, Ruby Reyes, competes for WOW. And I think very highly of her. And, I feel like that's a great opportunity for some of the women in pro wrestling today, that they might not have an opportunity in AEW or WWE, but WOW is another alternative for them to get an opportunity to showcase their talents. And again, there's only so many spots for so many people. So a company like WOW, I feel like does serve a good purpose. And, with the crossover where we see so many of the talents that compete in women of wrestling who also compete in the NWA. And we've said it before, it'd be neat if they could do some sort of cross promotion where, they're already both on the Wrestling Central on Pluto and on the Roku app. It's I think it would be really cool to see some of these talents cross over. Haley J wrestles for both. At one point, Tiffany Nieves' tag team partner, Valentina Rossi, was working for both. And, I think it would just be an excellent opportunity if there was a way to make that work. Obviously, you're going to need someone a lot more business savvy than me to make it happen. But I think it'd be cool if they could make something happen there. DK, do you ever watch WOW? Do you have any interest in women of wrestling?
Wow.
You're muted, DK. You're still muted, DK. All right, moving on.
Maybe he's not in the room.
Hey, DK, if you're there, I'm asking you about your opinion of women of wrestling. You got 10 seconds before I move on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. All right, moving on.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, my God. The thing would not unmute.
That's weird.
So tell me about it. At least you didn't hear me cussing.
Oh, yeah, we did.
No, you didn't. You'd be
Clouds did, I'm sure.
You'd be blushing if you had.
You never met my mom. My mom invented half those words. My mom used to make truckers blush.
Yeah,
I'm not touching that.
But did she make sailors blush? That's the wrong question.
She partied with them.
Maybe she did. I don't really know a lot about women in wrestling because I never really followed women in wrestling. Not any particular reason as to why, other than one small reason, but mainly it was a time thing. I'm not fond of promotions that create their own universe, so to speak. And so, somebody who's wrestling out on the independents as Jane Doe was suddenly given some NXT style name and gimmick, and oh look, it's
Barbie Hayden wrestling as Abilene Maverick. You didn't like that?
not particularly. That's a good example, but I was trying to come up with like an Alexandra York sister name, just couldn't come up with anything. But,
by the way, Alex Misery just peeked in on TikTok, and not that this show is all about Alexander Miserable, but I want to point out that Slade really put over Alex Misery on the interview and said that he would love to face Alexander Miserable, and said that he's probably the most athletic guy in the NWA. And I think that's huge praise coming from Caesar. Miserable. I just like saying that because Danny Deals calls him it. Alex Misery is such a talented kid. And I say kid because I'm an old man now, but he's a talented up-and-comer for the NWA. And Slade is definitely one of these guys who is a talented up-and-comer for the NWA. And I think, I said, hey, that kind of reminds me of a style of like a Dean Malenko and a Rey Mysterio. And Slade corrected me quickly. He said, no, that's more like Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see that. And if those two did get an opportunity to battle for that title, I think that'd be some exciting wrestling. Sorry, I saw him in the chat and I wanted to throw it out there to Alex Misery just so that I don't know if you heard it during the interview.
Well, if you watch the interview, I would know that.
Well, you can watch it on demand as soon as this is over. It's available on YouTube as soon as this is over. But not until this is over, but as soon as this is over, but not until it's over, you can watch it on YouTube. And I'm also going to be uploading it to our podcasting network, which is available Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. I think it's just about everywhere these days.
Well, hey, Jay, let's ask you the question that Jaden and I were talking about.
Absolutely.
Before you disappeared, apparently, to get food and alcohol and
no alcohol, but
and who knows what else?
Chili,
but
it's very chilly out here.
Yes, about to be chilly. One of the things that Jaden and I were talking about is we've had some people that maybe they've been in the NWA a little bit too long. Maybe the NWA doesn't know what to do with them anymore, or have a path for them. Not necessarily somebody who you'd want to go away permanently, but somebody who maybe should take a
hiatus.
Take a year to either relax or work other places or learn a new hold or whatever. So Jaden had brought up Wrecking Ball possibly, and Trevor Murdoch possibly. And I haven't brought up anybody yet, but I'm kind of interested to know who's somebody that you think should maybe spend like a year somewhere else.
Well, like I caught the tail end of that, and I heard you mention Genocide, who left the company, obviously, and she's been gone for quite some time. And looking at the roster today, thinking about guys who've left who I think would be interesting to come back. I have a list of them, like Dak Draper would be on top of my list, and Rush Freeman, although he didn't get a lot of accolade, I would have liked to seen him come back at some point as well. And then, oh gosh, I forgot his name. The MMA fighter, Blake Bulletproof Troop, I think would have been a good guy to have him come back, right? But these are guys who are gone now that I would like to see come back. And you're asking me about guys who should probably go away. And man, it's so hard because
for just a little bit. I mean,
They need to freshen up. They've been there so long that it's the problem is they're there so long that they're not being used. They're being used okay, but not well enough to justify them being there.
So the first name that comes to my mind, and it's not because I want him to leave, but I would like to see him utilized better, is Mims. Right now, Mims is a national champion. He had a pretty good run as national champion. He had his TV title run was short because of the whole thing with Max the Impaler.
But Mims is a guy that maybe if he just disappeared for a couple of tapings and came back under a new gimmick, under a new thing, I might be very excited about that. And not because I don't want to see Mims in the NWA, but I want to see Mims succeed in the NWA. And then, conversely, you brought up a Wrecking Ball Legursky. And again, I wouldn't want to see him leave either because, again, I feel like he's an asset to the company. But, somebody who I feel like is floundering right now is Jay Bradley, right? Like, he lost a few to Wrecking Ball Legursky. He isn't really getting a lot of TV time. But, at the same time, too, these guys are all getting older and you don't have that much time left. So it's like, well, if Jay Bradley leaves for 6 months, where is he when he comes back in 6 months? But I think Jay Bradley could certainly use some time away to freshen up. Here's my most controversial one, Daisy Kill. And not because I don't love Daisy Kill, because I think he's really talented as well. But if given the opportunity for him to disappear for a little while and come back, even as the same persona, but just, a little fresher, because right now he's mostly used as a mid-card fodder. What serious push has he had since Talos has went to All Japan Pro Wrestling? What push has he had in any direction, in a tag team and as a singles? And he's a guy that we keep saying, oh, he'd be good as a TV champion. But the best answer that I just came up with is Brian Idol. I would love for Brian Idol to disappear for a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, the 5-year plan, and see what he can bring to the table in 5 years. That might be my answer. But realistically, though, like a Daisy Kill, I think would benefit the most from taking a break and coming back later. Just because, to me, Trevor Murdoch is so invaluable, both in the ring and outside of the ring. His name is credible and adds credibility to the National Wrestling Alliance. We haven't seen Red Dog in a while. We haven't seen
Marche Rocket. Whatever happened to him?
Well, again, he's out there learning new moves. He's appeared for NWA Chicago, but excuse me. Outside of that, we don't see a lot of Marche Rocket on the NWA Power roster. So I think those two names have been gone for a while. I wouldn't mind seeing them return in a different capacity. But did I answer your question, DK? Because I think I did. DK, you're still
Yeah,
muted.
you did, and you stole my primary one, which was Mims. I would like Mims to continue to wrestle, but maybe not in the NWA. Maybe go somewhere and develop not a massively different character, but a somewhat different character.
Again, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, so I apologize, but I do want to say this. Somebody could leave the main roster. They could leave NWA Power and still very much be a part of the NWA. There are several territories, and some of them very close together. Searville and Nashville, or wherever because the thing about Joe Kazana Promotions is they run all over Tennessee, so they're not really in one area. They're kind of all over. that could be a circuit for anybody, just in the Tennessee area. And then, the drive from Cleveland, Ohio to Nashville is not that far of a drive either. And if someone is living in Tennessee, they can make that a circuit between, Exodus Pro, Joe Kazana Promotions, and Crossfire. And, the drive from Chicago to Cleveland is not that far. Somebody could do all four of those promotions and still be a big name for the NWA, but just not on Power. And I think like a guy like Mims, who, he's so talented. I don't want to see him leave the NWA, but as of right now, until something proves otherwise, I feel like he's kind of floundering. Like, he beat Pope, he lost to Pope, and now where are we?
He won beat Pope, and then he lost to Dagon or Dragon or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Nihon. And again, I get it. Nihon's the next big thing, and maybe they're building him up for the match. In somebody's eyes, he is, not mine, but I could see them building him up for a match with Thrillbilly.
Sure.
But, and then at the expense of Mims, I feel like that sucks. Because, again, Mims is really good. he needs to, like you said, he needs a little bit of tweaking, needs a little bit of seasoning. Not tweaking, that's not the right word. The gimmick might need to be tweaked. But I think, for in all intents and purposes, I think he could really be an asset to the company. But maybe they don't see him like that right now. So putting him on the territories, I think, might be a really good place for him to be.
And none of this is about talking bad, or you want them to go, or you think they suck, or this is all. It's all about betting on yourself. The Mick Foley theory, where he left a big paid job twice to bet on himself, and won that bet. I would say that's what it needs to. What was that?
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes is another example. Yeah, they need to do something to really. Because they're stagnant in the NWA. That's why I said Trevor Murdoch. I said he was the one I liked the most. One of my favorite wrestlers in the NWA.
Yeah.
But right now, he's just the guy who's there because he's done so much that they're not going to do. What are they going to do? They're not going to put the world heavyweight title on him unless it's like a necessity. They're probably not going to put the TV title on him. So it's either way. Are they even going to put the tag team titles on him? What is he going to do that he hasn't already done? That, and Kenzie, you know what? Here's a perfect one. Kenzie Page.
Oh,
she's done so much. Everything is just a retread, and there's not enough talent. It's not like they're bringing a whole brand new crop of talent. So they're like, all right, we're bringing in 10 new women to wrestle Kenzie Page because he has all these fresh matchups now. She's somebody that should go to maybe a TNA or something like that, or an NXT.
Yeah, I mean, she was actually my number 2, except for the idea that if she went somewhere, she'd probably be gone forever. And the important thing was, like we're saying, these aren't people that we want gone. Jay wants Idol.
Except for Jay with Brian Idol.
but yeah, these are people who we want to give the chance to freshen up, to miss, to learn a new hold. And learning a new hold, I think, is important. Hopefully a believable or better one. For example, in WWE, Bayley doesn't do her Bayley to the belly anymore, really, as a finisher. And she had one stupid looking move that I didn't like, and I think she might be doing something different now. But like, if you used to do a power slam for your finisher, maybe move to a submission. If something that kind of freshens you up. You don't need a whole gimmick change. Jim Duggan was Jim Duggan. He wasn't really that different of a character from the guy that was working enhancement. He just got the mic time and started winning. That's really what happened with him. So sometimes you just need to, you need a little bit of freshening. You need a chance to be missed. You need a chance to say, oh, I really want to see so-and-so again. And, but that would go to the, next thing is we talked about free agents. So what free agents are out there that you would want to sign? As I just saw something really weird on my television set. And, there's talk about what's his name? The ROH guy, former Matt Taven. And so in Ciampa from WWE's recently announced he's not, his contract's coming to an end. He's not re-signing or whatever. And so who are some people out there that you don't want to just see kind of travel through the NWA, but you'd actually like to see be part of the NWA? Jay?
Great question. Thanks for asking. I think the first and foremost, you said Matt Taven. And I think Matt Taven would make a lot of sense because he did work with the NWA for a short time. Him and Mike Bennett both competed at the Crockett Cup. They were the preliminary Crockett Cup. They had a few very good matches within the NWA. And, historically, he's worked with the NWA promotions in the past, like Liberty States, NWA on Fire. And, he even held the, in CMLL, the NWA middleweight, the historic middleweight championship. So he's a guy that I think makes a lot of sense. And when you're looking for star power, granted, he is not Matt Cardona, and he won't ever be Matt Cardona, but he could be something big for the NWA. And I feel like that is a very smart business decision to have somebody like Matt Taven on board. Again, he was just in AEW. He was working ROH matches. Maybe him working a part-time schedule with the NWA and then working a full schedule on the independents makes a lot of sense, or vice versa. I feel like that would be a very solid asset for the NWA. The next one is a team that's already currently working for the National Wrestling Alliance on a, per basis, a per show appearance, is the Good Brothers. I mean, when you think about tag team wrestling in the last 20 years, there's been quite a few good tag teams, but who has been more proficient in pro wrestling in the last 10, 15 years than the Good Brothers? I mean, Machine Gun and Gallows held titles in New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, the WWE. They had appearances in AEW. And adding a tag team of that caliber to the NWA in a large capacity, not just per appearance, but make them a part of the NWA, I feel like would add a lot of value to the tag team division, especially when it comes to the Crockett Cup. And it can be mutually beneficial because, again, we talk about legacy and history. And, you look at, I don't think it falls on deaf ears, the accomplishments of pro wrestlers. I don't think they say, yeah, we had a good career, and that's all good and done. I think they're proud when they say, yeah, the NWA put their tag belts on us. Yeah, we were the IWGP champions like 6 times, 7 times. And when I look at the Good Brothers and the schedule that the NWA is currently, it would make so much sense for them to be under contract to the NWA. And honestly, they're my front runners to win the Crockett Cup. And, we saw that before with the Briscoes not being under contract and they win the Crockett Cup. And of course, before that, Brody King and PCO won the Crockett Cup, not being under contract to the NWA. So when I say like the Good Brothers, to me, that would make a lot of sense. And not even just strictly as a tag team, but like Carl Anderson is such a talented wrestler. And I know he exceeds in tag team wrestling, but what if he got a push towards the world title? What if that was Thrillbilly's main opponent? He can cut a good promo. He looks good. He wrestles well. He could help bring out the best in Thrillbilly. And I think that would be a very smart business decision. Jaden, who do you think would be a good addition to the NWA roster that's currently a free agent, somebody who either is coming from the big three or internationally, or somebody who is on the independents that's ready to break through?
I know it's probably going to disappoint anybody, but I don't like anybody now. The NWA had so many opportunities to grab people that could have done something, and they dropped the ball on it. I think it's going to matter of time before we see Matt Cardona Richard Holiday in the TNA, and they'll probably bring Ben Bishop with them.
Yeah.
There's people that they could have jumped on while they could have and get what they could and done what, use them to elevate the NWA, and they just dropped the ball. So honestly, there's nobody right now that excites me that the NWA would take advantage of, because if they were going to take advantage of, they would have already done it.
That's fair.
Taven's probably the closest because he's fresh.
Who?
I can't see Ciampa, Matt Taven.
Yeah.
Because he's fresh, maybe because it's something, but he's not going to be the all of a sudden, oh my God, they signed Matt Taven. They're going to show up on, they're going to be assigned, they're going to be show up on Disney now.
Yeah.
Billy Corgan has pretty much stated that what he wants is what he wants, and he's not going to do what he needs to do to succeed. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he's thinking that's going to succeed. So honestly, nobody excites me to get in the NWA anymore.
Really, Taven's probably the only one for me. I mean, I do the Good Brothers I would love, but they're more towards the end of their careers than anything. Taven, I feel like it's just more
Contemporary.
Yeah, more. He
Or-
could have a longer, bigger impact. Is my thing. He'd probably have to start junior heavyweight because he's not that big. But again, he's a former ROH world champion back when ROH was really ROH and not AEW Dark. And so he's the one that I would certainly, boy, if they could sign him, I would be happy.
You know, the other name running around lately, and Double D just entered the chat, and this is almost for him because he said it on the pre-party on Monday or Tuesday, excuse me. Is one of the Rascals, whose name now I'm blanking on. You know, the four of them, the group of four had signed with AEW, and then I can't remember which one. Double D, which wrestler did you say? I know you're in the chat. I know it's not Zachary Wentz, and I know it's not
Trey Miguel.
Trey Miguel, thank you. So Trey Miguel was let out of his contract. Depending on who you ask, he either asked for his release or they told him he could leave or be fired. And he opted to leave. And you know, as it is right now, I don't necessarily know that he burned any bridges with TNA Wrestling. I don't know if they have something for him going forward. But Trey Miguel, who is a junior heavyweight by design, he's what you would call a flippy dippy guy. I don't think he exactly fits the NWA standard, but I feel like he would be someone interesting to add into the junior heavyweight division that you could put in the ring with. You could put in the ring with Alex Misery. You could put in the ring with Slade. You could put in the ring with Alex Taylor. And it would give you a different look for the NWA for sure. And I think that would be an interesting choice. I mean, what do you guys think about Trey Miguel? I know that there's some controversy surrounding him. But like, let's also admit that there has been almost zero fear from Billy Corgan in addressing people with controversial past.
Obviously, look at the last champion.
Yeah. The last three champions, actually.
So your question is, what's your exact question?
What do you think about Trey Miguel joining the NWA? Do you see value in that?
I think there could be some. I mean, I'm not against it. And if what I'm hearing is correct, it's not that AEW had a problem with Trey Miguel, but it kind of sounds like it was another one of those Briscoe issues where something from a long time ago has disturbed Warner Brothers, and they had an issue, which Warner Brothers in the process of getting sold, they should just keep their thoughts to themselves now. If you're selling yourself, it's not, a lot of times it's not because you are a great success.
It's smarter that they don't, though, because that could also mess with the sale. Right now, they're worried about that sale, so they're looking to come out as squeaky clean as possible to get this most out of it as possible.
You know, and with that sale, as somebody who is a stockholder from Warner Brothers Discovery, I can say with my whole chest that Paramount Skydance is very interested in doing a hostile takeover. They're trying to convince stockholders to sell now, to sell to them, as opposed to waiting for the Netflix deal to process through. So it is. I'm not saying it's in huge jeopardy, but I'm saying that there is issues with that stock being that company right now, Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah, that's a very common double win strategy. If we can buy up enough stock, we can force the issue. And if not, the deal will probably end up being better than what we're paying for the stock. And then we'll get the money that way.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what might happen. Because not to derail the conversation from wrestling, but the stock is currently trading at just over $28, and they're offering $30 a share. So, if someone has, thousands of share of Warner Brothers Discovery, I mean, then maybe it might make sense to sell now and net that, $2 more per share of stock. But on the flip side, if Netflix, the sale does go through, not only do the stockholders gain Netflix stock, but they also gain part of the stock that will be what's left over from the Discovery splitting of the company. So there is a benefit for it.
Well, and Netflix is looking to change to an all cash offer because that's based. Paramount's offering all cash.
Oh.
And so all cash for everything. And Netflix is only buying part of it, and they were doing part cash, part stock, and then of course part stock in Discovery. But so Netflix now is, from what I understand, is looking at offering all cash, and then you would still get stock in the Paramount Global or World or whatever they were going to call it, or are calling it. So it's one of those things. I'm sure AEW is hoping very much that Netflix is the one that gets it.
You think so? Netflix?
Yeah, because if it's Netflix, that spins them into a separate company.
Got it. Now I understand what you're saying. Yep.
So if Netflix was buying all of it, then they may worry.
Yeah.
But if they would probably be a top thing for a new, cable channel only or satellite channel only or whatever they're called nowadays. I'm old and still cable to me. And so streaming service, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. But back to Trey Miguel, which was started this whole conversation. I would have no problem bringing him in. Again, though, this is one of the problems in NWA is who are you? In that Trey Miguel, even if you brought him in, you want to give him some wins over some enhancement talent, and then some mid-card talent or whatever, and kind of make him into a big deal in the junior heavyweight division, especially since he's a style conflict with their current world junior heavyweight champion. And it would be interesting to see that dynamic. Sometimes people with opposite styles work great together. Sometimes they clash terribly.
Yeah.
But who doesn't love a good train wreck?
There you go.
I mean, that's the only reason Jaden goes by, train tracks. He's hoping.
I don't have to go. There's actually one not that far from me.
How do you think he looks out his window at the train tracks? He keeps
actually, having been to Jaden's house, like he sees enough accidents right outside his house. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, right now my room is lighting up like Vegas because apparently somebody got pulled over. I'm on the third most accident prone street in all of my town, and it's a small road. It intersects two big roads. That's part of the problem, but there's a lot of accidents that happen on my street.
And not in a good way.
Yep. Knocked my power out, knocked my cable out. But back in the day, there's the phone pole in front of our house is a brand new one because they actually obliterated the last one.
Oh no.
Yikes. Well, speaking of power,
oh crap. I know I shouldn't have said that.
I put this one on.
I didn't watch it, so unfortunately I never got a chance to watch it. I watched I watched the first match, but then I never got a chance to finish it.
Okay, before we get there, let's do two things. First, I want to point out that the figure 4 is saying Adam with hitting the turnbuckle said Mims may be doing a SoCal show in the near future. I will be there if it's somewhere local. If it's within a 2-hour radius, I would love to go see Mims in person again, and especially in Southern California. The other part is Noob had a question for you guys, because he's asked me this one before, and we've kind of dodged it on the last few episodes, and I feel bad. So I want to make sure Noob knows that we do care about him as a listener and a viewer, and I want you guys to answer this question. So to both of you guys, Noob says, I got a question for DK and Jaden. Do you see Markova and Idol as the next power couple in the NWA? And Jaden, why don't you go first? Do you see them as a power couple?
Maybe power hungry, but Markova is the NWA Women's Champion, and I don't think they've given her enough. Again, I didn't watch this week. I didn't watch last week, so maybe I missed it. But it almost feels like that she's becoming an afterthought, and I don't like that. She's got the segments, and they give her the stupid skits and stuff, but they should be showing highlights of her instead of these stupid skits. Maybe they should get an old-fashioned Smashing Pumpkin song and do a Natalia Markova highlight package. And show about all her good moves and all the cool stuff that she does, and put her over that way. Because I feel like she's become an afterthought since winning the NWA Women's Championship. She just doesn't feel like the focus is on her. It doesn't feel like they're spotlighting her well. Doesn't feel like they're capitalizing and utilizing her very well. Okay. Brian Idol, he has lots of spotlight on him. They're not all of it good. And apparently I love the fact that when I see some of the NWA guys promoting things that he's on, they kind of cut him out and only show like the person he's wrestling. I thought that's pretty hilarious. I don't know if you've noticed that recently.
No, but it just made me snort.
But it's multiple people seem to be doing so. I didn't dislike Brian Idol as much as the other people in the NWA, but the more things have, sometimes you just need to shut the fuck up. And he needs to get, somebody just needs to either slap the shit out of him and tell him to shut his fucking mouth, and just, don't just, you're making it worse. And I don't think, anybody's going to do that, because he's apparently behind the scenes, he's Billy's boy, and thinks he can get away with anything. And that's probably why I'm glad I'm not in the NWA, because I probably would have done it. But I'm dumb like that.
Double D agrees with you. So why don't you tell? He says, "Yeah, I agree with Jaden when you said that he should just shut up." DKM, you're muted, but once you unmute, why don't you tell us? Do you think that they're a true power couple for the NWA?
Well, I noticed the question actually asks next power couple, and I was trying to figure out who the first power couple was. And so was it Camille and Latimer? I mean, I kind of remember them talking about being the power couple.
I would have said Camille and
Aldous,
the ham sandwich guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they weren't a couple though, but Latimer and Camille were. Like, Latimer, I think, was either getting close to the world title or at least the national title, and Camille was the women's world champion. So, I mean, in terms of power couple, there's no one who's done that since, with the exception of now Idol being the TV champion and Markova being the women's champion.
And so, I think it goes back to the talk about the T-shirts when we were in New Orleans.
Tell him, Daddy. Tell him.
Well, you just told the story a couple of weeks ago, I think. But for those who have missed it and the other times we've told it, I was going to buy a Markova shirt, which was like going to be $50, double the price that most people do. And I was like, oh, I go, that's expensive. And she threw in one from Idol for $10. So it was basically $30 a t-shirt. And I go, well, I go that. You know, in the logic sense of wanting something really bad and make an excuse to get it, I ended up with 2 t-shirts for $30 each, which doesn't sound as bad as 1 t-shirt for $50. But
and you also got me a picture with Pretty Empowered too, and I thank you for that.
Yes, I did. I got a picture of you and Pretty Empowered, and I love Pretty Empowered. That's when I fell in love with them. Jay was already in love with them, but I didn't fall in love with them until that. And so we see where the power is in the couple. Jaden's right. For whatever reason, they seem to be focusing the women's division on NWA or whatever they call themselves. Which, when we talk about that match, I'm gonna say some bad things about something, and and I don't know why. It's like, if you want Tiffany Neves to be your star, then put the title on her and make her your star.
Well, I want to finish this conversation before we get into that, because I have something I want to say about Markova and what they're doing with her. And my opinion's a little bit different, but I'll let you finish before I interrupting.
I don't think that they're a power couple as in being presented as a power couple on the show.
Okay.
They might be a power couple behind the scenes. And my computer wants to reboot again. Let me tell it no. All right. And that's the whole deal, isn't it, everybody? So no, I don't think they're the next power couple. I'm not sure they're a first power couple. They call themselves that, but they never did much with Vladimir and Camille, as far as like being a powerful force in the promotion. And yeah, so I do wish they'd focus a little more on their world champion, or make the world champion the top attraction in a division. We saw that a little bit with Latimer, where even after he lost, or even after he won the title, it still seemed like EC3 was the top guy.
Yeah, I get that. Let's move on, right? So this week's Power, and again, and I see Matthew Underwood's in the chat, and I see Double D's here, and I'm not sure who else from the Discord is in here, but I really felt like, normally I'm the one who says, yeah, Discord is like, well, actually, no, I take it back. DKM is the one that usually says the Discord is crazy because they love everything that the NWA does. And I'm sometimes the moderate between the two, where I think, well, it's not as bad as DKM says, and it's not as good as the Discord. And this week, it's kind of like the polar opposite, at least for me, because I actually thought this was a good episode of Power. Am I crazy, DK? You watched it. What did you think of this? Just on the surface, what did you think of Power as a whole?
I thought the in-ring action was mostly good.
Okay.
Again, the pacing of the show, where they put breaks. And by the way, I do see commercials on the on-demand.
On your PC or on your phone?
On my TV app.
So I watch it on my PC. I get no commercials.
Okay. Well, I watch it
on my phone. I get no commercials.
Well, I watch it on the TV app, and it gets my Fire app. And I got commercials. And the real commercials don't fall in line with the commercials on the show.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
And so they go on break in the middle of a match to show promos. And now it's not like a promo or something like that. It's like they have a series of promos. And just absolutely positively ridiculous. So the layout of the show still sucks.
Yeah.
And but the actual in-ring action was pretty good, especially the opening match was certainly the best one. And the women's match was okay, except for the end. And yeah, we'll talk about the final later.
All right. Well, then let's talk about it, because I was happy with it. By the way, Double D says he doesn't get ads on his phone, so there it is.
I like to be able to see it.
I get that too, and like I said, I watch it in my office where I podcast from. I have I guess like a 30-inch, maybe it's a 30-inch. What's 6 inches between friends? I can watch very clearly Power. In fact, this week I even watched it on TikTok. And and it looked great. I was good with it. But we started off with the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship match, which again, I guess one of my biggest complaints about this is this should not be the opening match. The World Junior Heavyweight title should only be second to the World Heavyweight title. And I think the hierarchy of the championship belts are a little askew in the NWA, because to me, we even the nicknames, right? The 10 pounds of gold, right? We call the World Heavyweight Championship. We don't call it the Thez. We call it the 10 pounds of gold. Cool. Got it. They call the Women's World Championship the Burke after Mildred Burke. Get it. They call the Junior Heavyweight title the Hodge after Danny Hodge. Get it.
No, I don't.
Danny Hodge was a god among men when it comes to pro wrestling. And if that title is supposed to be the embodiment of Danny Hodge, then that title's relevancy should be catapulted to the top of the main event. And again, maybe the tag titles could replace it in terms of the main event. Maybe the Women's World Championship could replace it more than the main event. But the TV title being the main event on a night when you have look, they booked it as a title change. We all knew it was going to be a title change. Why would that be the opening match? That just befuddles me. But
additionally, the TV title is supposed to be the main event for TV, though.
Okay, and I guess that's fair. But then it went on before the women's tag team title match.
I don't know. I only watched the opener, so I don't know.
I'm just saying. So okay, regardless, I still feel like that title should be held in a higher esteem than it is. And it being the opening match just, I think, further proves my point that they don't take it seriously enough. Alex Taylor had a great run as World Junior Heavyweight Champion, 440 days. One of his last defenses was against Tommy Billington, the nephew of the Dynamite Kid, not the son, but the nephew. And, I felt like he did a lot as champion. He was able to take it to a lot of the territories. He won it at a territory show against Joe Alonzo in Chicago. Lost it on an episode of Power at the Signature Live event, Saw win. I think we all owed a debt of gratitude for Taylor for carrying that belt as long as he did. I think a lot of us just assumed that Alonzo, that the fluke win over Alonzo was just a fluke win, and that they would replace Taylor as champion quickly, which they never did. And he held that belt for quite some time. So very happy for Taylor for the run that he had, but would like to have seen more. Getting to the match, I thought it was a good match. There were a couple things to me that kind of stood out. There was a point where Taylor went to the top rope, and his entire run as junior heavyweight champion, he mentioned like he's not a high flyer. He's a mat wrestler. So that was very out of character for him to go to the top rope. And, in essence, got caught by Slade. Another instance that seemed a little peculiar was there was a moment where, Slade had the ankle lock on Taylor for a moment, and, he was able to get Slade out of the ring. And then he takes off his shoe to use as a weapon. And I'm thinking, like, what are we doing here? Like, taking your shoe off as a weapon, it seems like the weirdest thing I could think of. And, of course, it was more of just a stall tactic so he could hit a low blow on Slade, and it still did not get him the victory. Slade locked in that ankle lock, and even once Taylor got to the ropes, he was able to pull him out of it and then cinch it in and really get it in tight. I felt that it was a very entertaining match. If you guys haven't seen it, I think this, at the very least, was definitely worth watching on this week's Power. I thought it was good. I would like to know what you guys think. So first we'll go with you. Jaden, you said you did not watch any of Power, or you saw this match?
I saw this match. I watched this match. I was looking forward to this match. I watched it, and then the idea was I was going to finish watching the rest of it, and it just didn't come to be. But I wanted to see this match. I saw it very early Tuesday morning, like 6 a.m., I think, maybe 7 a.m. But I did watch it, and I did enjoy it. I actually, one of the main reasons a junior heavyweight gets that opening match is because they always want to start off with a hot match. And there's a theory that the junior heavyweight's always going to be a hot match. In the old days, nobody wanted to work the opening match because that meant you were a curtain jerker. But nowadays, the mentality of wrestlers has changed, where they believe they want to be in the opening match because that's the match that starts the whole show off hot, and that's where you can make sure you get all your time in, because there's all the time in the world left, and you could get out early and leave when you can. But I like the match a lot. I think it was a good opener. I think it was, if there was a hot wrestling all the way through and there was a hot card all the way through, I think it would have been fine. I do like the fact, I wish the junior heavy was treated better, but I wish everything in the NWA was treated better. Sure. But I'm happy. Alex Taylor, I thought this might have been the best match I've seen him in. I don't watch a lot of them. I don't, I stopped watching Power for a while, and so I may not see everything he did, but I did say this was a really good match. I'm a big fan of Slade. Talent-wise, he was absolutely amazing in the ring. The former Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion, Dirty Money, was putting him over huge to me for a long time. He knows him well, and so he's good. I'm very happy with the match. I liked it a lot. I think the fact that Taylor was going high is because he knew he couldn't out wrestle Slade, so he was trying to find a way to alternate his offense. And sometimes psychology, they could play that off as well. I didn't think I could out wrestle him, so I tried something new, but it wasn't my wheelhouse, and that's why I lost. It gives him a kind of a built-in excuse too. Not that it takes away, but it's like, look, I knew I was going to out wrestle him, so I had to do something, and I got caught, and that's why I lost that match. The shoe thing, it was okay. Technically, it's not a foreign object because you brought it into the ring as part of your. It's part of your outfit. It's part of which you brought into the ring, so it's not a illegal weapon.
Okay, but
again, it's a technicality. It's just like no difference than Hogan taking the weight belt off that he wore to the ring and whipping people with it. But yeah, I enjoyed the match, and I hope there's a good rematch. Maybe on television, they could do a really good long rematch, maybe as the main event, and not be associated with the TV title, because it seems like every time the TV title is defended, so is the junior heavyweight title. You notice that?
Yes. I have noticed that, and I don't love that. But go ahead.
But yeah, I think you guys need to go out of your way to try to find the match, because I knew I was looking forward to it when they announced that this week was going to be the junior heavyweight match, and that it was going to be first. I was probably going to, even if it was last, I was probably going to fast forward through everything to find that match first anyway, because that was the match I was most interested in.
Cool.
What about you, DK?
Well, the first thing is, yes, the TV title was traditionally the main event on TV, but it's not like they defended every week on TV now, or every other, whatever.
Sure.
And there's no need to put 3 title matches on the same show. I mean, all of these could have been main events of a given episode.
Yeah, it's formatting. That's why they do their pay-per-view / signature live event formatting. They could still do the formatting and just edit it if they wanted to. Instead of editing all these stupid segments, maybe they should spend the time editing the matches so they could have like a proper card and build to wherever there's a title match in the main event for every power.
Yeah. And so, just to get that part out of the way, the match itself I really enjoyed. It's obviously, if Jay likes flippy dippy, this is my type of thing.
And I like this match, by the way. So continue.
And I was So I really enjoyed the actual match. Hated the interruption in the middle. Hated the promos.
Yeah.
Just pissed me off to no end. I was surprised that it was a clean tap victory.
Huh.
I wouldn't have surprised me with like a clean victory, but some clean submissions. Boy, you know, back in my day, back a long time ago, those were almost only for and you know, enhancement matches on TV with only occasional exceptions.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some world titles did change hands on submissions. And so that one surprised me a little bit. But yeah, I enjoyed the match. Hate the way it was formatted into the show. And I didn't enjoy the promos in the middle. And not just because there were promos in the middle, I didn't enjoy the promos also. So that's my take on that one. Next.
All right, and then so the next match, well, again, you guys referenced the promos. I was just going to leave those to the end. This is a bad part of Power. This is, again, we talked about the formatting. We talked about placement of things. This was a very good TVMA promo, but it didn't belong in the middle of this match where TVMA is talking about they don't even know who the heck are. Who the heck are they? I think is one of the gags that they kept running with. And this led to Marty Bell and Allison Kay coming in, and the two teams, it got heated and had to be separated. And then that led to a really fiery promo with Thrilly. And I love these promos. Again, these should be in the middle, like, you know, coming back from a commercial. These promos should be like the, you know, it goes to commercial, comes back, this promo. It goes to, you know, this is a promo, then goes to commercial. Not in the middle of matches. And these promos are great because they're, you know, the storyline between Thrillbilly, Silas Mason, and our, you know, former champion Tom Latimer. You know, Thrilly saying you got 2 weeks to decide whether you're going to get this title match or not, and then they're like, "Oh, now you got 1 week to decide." And it's such an impassioned promo, and it's very fired up. And I like this for telling the story that these two are coming face to face, and this is a big matchup, and then the importance of it, the center point of the company should be on the world title feud between, you know, Thrillbilly, Silas Mason, and whoever's challenging for that title, be it the former champion Tom Latimer or the next person. I really liked it. So for me, I think this was a very good promo, and I'm excited to see where this is going to lead to. I know that just for a second there, DCAM walked away, so we'll get to the next segment. Noob said that you forgot about the segment between Markova and Idol, and I guess maybe I had to step away from a minute. Maybe I missed that promo. So I apologize, Noob. I can't comment on it. I guess I didn't see it, which makes me feel bad because I like watching the program and I like being able to comment on things. I guess I didn't see this promo. That leads us to the next promos were the Good Brothers, and what I liked about the Good Brother promo is they put over the other tag teams, right? They didn't just say how great of a tag team they were, which they did. They talked about the IWGP titles. They talked about having championships all over the world. You know, I literally got to see them this past weekend in Mexico defend those Crash tag team titles, which they successfully defended, by the way. Oh, and I got this cool little autograph. Check this out. Yeah. You see what that says? It says, "To the Alliance blog." I don't know. Can you read it?
No.
No. Well, I can't help that Luke doesn't have the best handwriting, but it says "To the Alliance blog."
Did Carl Anderson remember you?
You know what made me, he didn't remember me, right? And what's kind of made me sad about that is he was legitimately the first guy I ever interviewed. First person I interviewed for alliance-wrestling.com. And that was not in person. It was not online. It was literally back and forth messaging on probably MySpace. It took weeks to do.
And then, but it was the first interview I did, and I told him that, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool, man. I don't remember." That's fine. I did name drop Dave Marquez, and I did name drop the Santa Monica Inoki Dojo, and that kind of triggered some memories for him. And I said, I even have a replica of the British Commonwealth title. And he goes, "Oh yeah." And I go, "I didn't bring it. I'm not bringing a title belt to Tijuana, Mexico. No, man." But he was a good sport, and they were. I even asked them about their futures with the NWA, and they said, "Hey, look," and it's very similar, very comparable to Matt Cardona, and even reminiscent of Colt Boom Boom Cabana. We can't commit to a full-time schedule because we're that busy, which, that sucks. But at the same time, like, how busy? The NWA isn't that busy. They're running about 8 shows a year at this point, maybe a little bit more, but mostly less. And I brought up the Crockett Cup, and they said, "Yeah, we'd love to, but it just depends if we're available or not." But they will be at the February TV taping. They're going to do they're doing back-to-back tapings that day, so they'll be at those tapings. I think that's February 21st in Tampa. So that was good news. At least they're going to be around for a little bit. But I can't really speak to the Crockett Cup, and they did put over not only in front of me in Mexico, but also on this episode, they put over Murnox, they put over the Immortals, and the IWGP is out of Fort Worth. What are you talking about, Matt? It's out of Chalmette. But anyways, it was cool to see them in Mexico, but it was even cooler to see them on Roku as part of the NWA. And they're talking about they want an opportunity to wrestle for the tag team titles. And then that leads us to the women's tag team championship match. We have TVMA with Miss Star and Greta, regrettably Greta, and they took on the team of the Hex, Allison Kay, Marty Bell, the longest reigning Lightning One era women's tag team champions. Allison Kay, Marty Bell, certainly, I feel like they've been missed. The NWA's struggled to have good women's tag teams, and it almost feels like they bring women together to wrestle 1 or 2 shows as the champions, or 1 or 2 shows to challenge for the titles, and then they disappear. So I would have much rather see a lot more of Marty Bell and Allison Kay. On the commentary, they did reference that Marty Bell took the Exodus Pro Championship off of Tiffany Nieves, which that's a good. I like the fact that they mentioned it and referenced that because it adds more to the story. Now, it would have been cooler if they could have had footage of that, right? It would have been cool if they showed that before the match. That's not the case, but nevertheless, it was cool that they referenced it. And I felt like the match struggled a little bit at times. I think Valentina Rossi is really good. I think Tiffany Nieves is really good. I don't feel like there was a lot of chemistry between Marty and Allison and TVMA. And then the finish I really had a problem with because Allison Kay kind of got fed up with the Miss Star and literally was reaching for her. And then you see Marty Bell come over to try to interfere. And then I think it was Tiffany got the roll-up victory on Allison Kay. And it was kind of very anticlimactic. Then post-match, TVMA attacked the Hex, and Greta delivered 2 of the most terrible choke slams I've ever seen. Just really not just bad, but ridiculously bad. And I was very disappointed in seeing that. The match itself was good, very anticlimactic. The post-match attack left a lot to be desired. DK, what did you think of this one?
Funny you should ask. No, it was sloppy.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was sloppy. Like you said, the chemistry between the 2 teams didn't work. Of course, I already didn't like how they were billing the match and, making a big deal over how they've been, what is it, MATV, TVMA?
TVMA. TV's most attractive. Come on.
Okay, well. And so I didn't like they stripped him of the title and all that stuff. And they were making such a big deal of it. And, then the match was sloppy. Like you said, the end was kind of weird. It was certainly anticlimactic. Watching, was it, who got the pin? Which one was doing the pinning?
I think it was Tiffany Nieves that got the pin, but I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But like she was trying to grab the tights, but she couldn't find a spot to grab the tights. And it was just, I don't know.
In her defense, Allison Kay is a little caked up,
Look, I'm not saying that it would have been easy. I'm just saying that.
I'm saying there was a lot to grab and not a right place to grab.
Yeah, well, she didn't really grab anything. That was the problem.
She could have Mickey James her.
Oh my God! This just handed to me. Trey Miguel is back in TNA. So sorry, Double D. It's not in the cards, brother.
Was he ever really out, or? Anyway.
I mean, technically, I guess not.
Well, sometimes I just wonder if they do things for make a story so people talk, work. But the end, I've not liked Greta since they've introduced her. And I've made no secret of the fact that I have not liked Greta since they have introduced her. And the choke slams, they couldn't have been worse if the Hex had deliberately sandbagged her. They could not have been worse. She obviously comes across as a big woman with no real strength. I mean, the choke slam she did on the Page sisters looked terrible.
Yeah, this was even worse than that.
Yeah, and this was worse because she couldn't get them up. And, both of those girls are, full figured. And I've never taken a choke slam. I've never delivered a choke slam. I don't know how much, each side has to do.
50-50. It's done right.
It was one of those. Not only could she not do her end, I think she kept them from doing theirs. And Jaden, go watch it, but just fast forward through the match and get to the end. And
the problem is, the reason I don't want to do that is because it's real hard to fast forward through the phone. It doesn't have an actual fast forward button; it only has a back.
Oh, well, do it on an effing computer then.
Nah, it's okay.
So yeah, I could see why people were giving C's and D's just in Discord, just based on that.
What happened next?
So then we get another promo again. I think this was technically in the middle of the match, but again, I didn't really want to interrupt the match review. We get Kratos and Odinson, and we haven't seen a whole lot of them lately. They are scheduled to take on a Blunt Force Trauma, and this is kind of like, is this a sign that there is not enough tag teams in the NWA? Because Blunt Force Trauma really haven't been relevant since the last anniversary show. And I mean, they did that whole they had the ringing of the bell match at the 76th anniversary show, and they lost to Odinson and Kratos before Kratos and Odinson won the tag titles. They haven't really had any success as of late, so I'm kind of even confused as to why these guys are in this match. It's not that I don't like BFT. I mean, we've talked about people who should probably go away for a little bit. Maybe that's time for BFT to go away for a little bit because there's no momentum for them going into this match. And this is the anniversary show. I felt like, you know, if we're going to do an anniversary show, and this, or excuse me, not anniversary show, excuse me, this is Saul Win. This is a signature live event. If we're going to have a premium style event, maybe have a premium style tag team. Maybe it would have been better to have Odinson and Kratos versus the Good Brothers as opposed to this matchup. And there's a lot of good talent down on the farm. I mean, I was just watching Exodus Pro this past weekend. TME is a very good tag team that I feel is ready to be up on Power as well. And again, we're getting, you know, Blunt Force Trauma, who haven't been relevant in some time. You know, a Country Gentleman might have been a better use of their talents, putting them in a world title match versus them facing the Page sisters. Anyways, getting to it.
Do you know why it probably happened, though?
Why?
The first championship defense is always a lame duck defense.
Okay.
Unless they lose it right away, which then makes them lame duck champions. So usually the first title defense is somebody that could be a good match, but you know they're not going to win. So you know it's just to get that first defense out of the way. They tend to put people that are good challengers, but not necessarily going to take, you know, people are going to think or take the belt away, just to get them that first win to get it over with, because nobody expects somebody to lose right away. You know, so that's probably what it was. It was like, all right, these guys are former champions. It'll be a good first win for the champs. So then they can move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I still wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. Anyways, so that was just the promo for next week's Power. We're not there yet. Then we have the Colby Carino promo. And this was kind of cool to see because, again, leading into the new year, there was a lot of questions regarding Colby Carino. You know, some major dirt sheets were reporting that Colby was being looked at by AEW, that he's being looked at by the WWE, and the man was still in a neck brace. He has not returned to pro wrestling yet. So for him to come back to the NWA and then be in the moment where he entered the ring and Kerry Morton called him out, mocked him endlessly. Hey, Colby, how's playing with your son? Like, that was like, you know, pretty messed up thing to say, because the fact that, you know, that those are some real concerns for Colby with an injured neck, that maybe he wouldn't be able to do that. Maybe he wouldn't have a normal life. And during the course of the mocking, Colby pulled off the neck brace and kicked Kerry Morton basically in the nuts. And thus proving that he is a lot more further along in terms of his recovery than maybe a lot of us had anticipated. And I'm not saying he's cleared to wrestle, and even he admitted that he's not cleared to wrestle yet. But we might get a showdown between Kerry and Colby. And I really don't want to see it if if Colby's not cleared to wrestle. But I feel like that would be a great way to bring Colby back, is when he is safe to wrestle. Kerry Morton, you know, they had the rivalry in the past over the junior heavyweight title. I feel like this would be a good way to reignite that, with both of them trying to get to that next level in the heavyweight division. These two would be a very interesting story to tell. Now, both of them trying to get to the heavyweight division. DK, did you have anything you want to add to
that? Not really. It was fine.
Then we get the, and I think this was during the Brian Idol Rich Swann match, but we'll just address it here. The Dr. Vic, weird, creepy ass shit with Tiffany Nieves, and there's no other way to put it. This stuff is getting like, you know, like B-level Skinamax type stuff. I made me uncomfortable watching it, and if I had kids in the room, I would turn it off because it just had that real icky feeling to it. And Dr. Vic was inviting them to come stay with him, and they've got a gym and a jacuzzi, and there's rooms and food for everyone, and a coffee bar, and Tiffany Nieves is digging it, which is kind of uncomfortable too. And she literally lays on the bed looking very excited, and just all of it just gave me the ick. And you know, red flag, ladies. If a guy invites you to come live with him and bring in your girlfriends, I would say that's a bad decision. Did you see this, DK? Did you just fast forward through it?
I fast forwarded.
We also got a really good promo from Tom Latimer
with regards to Thrillbilly Silas Mason, and kind of like he hasn't made that decision yet. He's 7 days to make that decision, but it's also 7 days that you get to enjoy that belt just a little bit longer, and 7 days before you kiss that belt goodbye. It was a very impassioned promo from Tom, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. I don't know what we're going to get next from Tom Latimer, but this kind of passion as a challenger for the world title, I think, is going to help elevate Thrillbilly Silas Mason and the 10 pounds of gold, because we need somebody to be impassioned about getting that title back. So this was cool too. I like that. If it's okay with you, DK, we'll just get to the match, the main event, the TV title match with Rich Swann versus Brian Idol. And I'm feeling like this, and maybe the fellas, maybe Matt, because he's here in the chat. Matt is a big on the Discord, and I'm not asking you to speak for the entire Discord audience, but I feel like the fascination with the needle mover Brian Idol, I think, is starting to come to a conclusion. I don't feel like he is as over with the Discord audience as he is with the Tampa audience. I don't feel like he is a good a wrestler as he ever thought he was. And it's evident when you put him in the ring with somebody who's super talented like Rich Swann, and Brian Idol makes the simplest things look complex. At one point, he went for a moonsault, which completely missed the target. And poor Rich Swann had to sell it like it was death because, well, that's his job, to make Brian Idol look good. There was another part where Rich Swann hit this really big splash. I thought that might have been the end of the match, but of course, Idol was able to kick out of that. And then when Swann went for another move off, what was that, Jaden?
Nothing. I dropped my phone.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And then when Swann went to go capitalize on that with another move off the second rope this time, he missed, and that's essentially what gave the victory to Brian Idol. I'm going through it fast because we're getting late in the evening, and I know we need to wrap things up. But I felt like this match was maybe the most disappointing of the three matches tonight. I like Rich Swann, and I hope he continues to be a part of the NWA going forward. We know that he recently challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship against Thrillbilly Silas Mason at Wrestle Revolver before Christmas. And I don't know if we're going to see Rich Swann again, especially with TNA's deal on the AMC, but I liked him in the NWA for what he was. I hope we see him again in the near future. He's super entertaining. Brian Idol, not so much. I couldn't get into this match. And Brian Idol looks like a goofball. DK, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm only going to disagree with you to the point that I thought the women's match was worse.
Okay.
I thought Swann probably did enough to make this into an okay match, an okay to good match. I don't know why, because I've watched Rick Swann for years, but he looked incredibly small to me against Idol, who I don't think of as being that big.
He is. He's a big guy,
I guess. But, it was what it was. Swann did what he could. It wasn't as sloppy as the women's match, but it wasn't as clean as the junior heavyweight match. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to say, Devin, how would you grade the show? I probably, grade the first one in a class by itself. The other two solid C pluses. And every promo and formatting of the show, F minuses. I really didn't like any of the promos this week. I know you talked about some of them and thought they were good. I didn't even get into Thrillbillies. It was just like, I like Thrillbilly when he's, the biggest man in wrestling and talking to the thing, got a little more cocky and arrogant and everything. That's kind of semi-unhinged guy I'm not as big of a fan of.
That surprises me, but okay.
It also might be the placement because I didn't watch the promos. I just passed where I throw them, but I'm sure like having to put where they are, they probably would have brought them down for me too.
Maybe.
There's some truth to that.
And yeah, like I said, I liked them, but again, maybe I'm expecting, maybe I'm overly appreciative of what they are. Maybe I am just being an eternal optimist when it comes to what the NWA is doing. But
I mean, these are things that I can think that people can legitimately see differently. There are some things I just wonder why anybody would like it. But I mean, I could see somebody looking at these and go, "Oh, they were good," and but they weren't me. I like a different style out of Thrillbilly.
One more thing that I forgot to mention that Noob reminded me is that there was a promo with Natalia Markova putting up her match against Shotzi Blackheart, and it was interesting because Natalia is saying all the right things. Hey, you beat me 6 years ago, but I'm different now. I'm better now, and you're not fighting a gimmick, which that part I didn't like because don't break kayfabe to the fans. But you're fighting me, and I'm a much better wrestler now, which that was all good. And then Shotzi comes into the picture, and she's like, "Oh yeah, well you didn't beat me 6 years ago, and I'm going to beat you the next week on Power." And then in the middle of all this, Matt Cardona pops his head and says, "Any of you guys see Billy Corgan?" And to me, that was funny, especially because we know that Cardona's now on SmackDown, and just to see him pop into a random segment on Power, I think was like inadvertently one of the funniest things I've seen the NWA do recently. So I like that a lot. That made me laugh.
I think I must have missed that completely.
No, and it was a decent promo from Markova. Like I said, the only thing I had a problem with is she kind of broke kayfabe. You're not challenging a gimmick, you're challenging a fighter, and I love this title, and I'm not going to let it go. Like all that was good, but just don't break the kayfabe. Like you don't have to address that you have a gimmick. We get it. You're the Crush, and we get it. You don't have to crush that gimmick. Just let it go. Don't use the insider lingo. Keep that private. But but the Cardona popping his head in I laughed. I literally laughed out loud.
Yeah.
You know, laugh out loud. I noticed 3 huge things behind you. There's a Mega Supreme, there's Tyrus, and there's a huge blob on a baseball card.
Yeah,
right.
Some fat ass. It's even autographed. It's a Daredevil, Dave Dahl. I don't think he's wrestling anymore. But
yeah, he's retired. Might be a collector's item now.
Could you read yours?
On mine, it said J Cal. Best wishes, Dave Dahl.
I saw some black scribbles, and when I asked what this was about, somebody told me, they go, "Oh, that's Dave Dahl sent something." I go, "Really?" They go, "Yeah, you got his autograph." I'm like, "I do."
Penmanship along with wrestling is not his strong suit. I hope he doesn't see this because that's really messed up, and I'm being a dick, but
I'll make sure to send it to him.
Clip it, send it to him.
Yes.
J Cal said you're an asshole. Anyway, so that was this week's Power. Again, I'm a little bit more optimistic in my grading. I thought the wrestling carried it to more than a C, but it wasn't the best show of the year. I mean, I guess maybe a B- would be probably appropriate. I still agree with what everyone else is saying. There shouldn't be any mid-match promos. Put those at the end of the match, the beginning of the match. I'm fine with. That should be the buffer between the commercials. I'm good with that. But in the middle of a match, like that's stupid. It's just dumb. And DK, what did you grade it? Where were you at on it? I know you said it was all that stuff kind of hurt it for you.
I mean, if I were going to do it overall, I'd probably give it a C+.
Okay.
But the plus is only because of the opening match.
It was such a good match; it carried the rest of the crap show.
Yeah, I was to say I loved everything I saw.
Well, and shut up, Jaden. And yeah. But then, I mean, really, I mean, I guess I can understand being critical of the fact that they interrupted every match mid thing, and I don't know why. Again, I blame it on Billy trying to look like he's a big promotion, but it's like you don't have to do it. So stop coming back from going. We're back from our commercial break. No, you're back from your own interruption that you didn't have to do. When you're putting promos in the middle of a match, you're intentionally taking us away from the match. You're telling me the wrestling doesn't matter. Look, in WWE, they're very, open. The wrestling don't matter because they only feature like 20 minutes of it in a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
And so if you watch WWE, you're not going to watch in-ring action that much. You're going for all the drama and bullshit that WWE puts together. And I don't know about AEW because I don't like their in-ring action and I don't like their promos. So
I'll be going to AEW when they come to Ontario in February, and again when they come to Los Angeles in March.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying about how I didn't like AEW, and this person doesn't like it either. And I was saying, I got a friend who likes it, and says he likes it, it doesn't matter, whatever, stuff like that. He goes, well, is it one of those? He goes, is he one of those fanatic, people? I go, no. I go, actually, he just sees it every now and then. I go, he'll go to a live show or whatever. He goes, oh, well, then that's probably why he likes it, because he doesn't actually have to follow it. The stupidity week to week or twice a week or whatever. He goes, so for him, he just goes and gets entertained for whatever the night is and then goes on. He goes, he probably wouldn't like it that much if he watched it all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like the midget wrestling, the micro championship wrestling. I'm sure it's entertaining while you're there, but it's not something I'd actually want out to be around constantly.
I went to 2 different organizations, and one of them we were supposed to go with our neighbor friend, and at the last minute he had to cancel. So then just me and Michelle went, and it was okay. It was like I felt uncomfortable because they don't mind leaning into the exploitation of side of it. And they were using the term midget quite a bit, which can be very offensive to little people. And it made me feel very uncomfortable because I don't want anyone to feel weird about what they're doing or anything like that. And I don't want people to feel exploited or whatever. But there were some moments where were really funny. And then I went to another show with the neighbor that I was supposed to go the first one with, and he was very drunk, and most of the people in the audience were very drunk. And at one point they had a female little person doing Bronco Busters on men in the audience who paid for such a luxury, and that really grossed me out. That was very awkward and off-putting, and I don't think I will ever go to another one of those events.
Do midgets really get upset with midgets? Because I actually know a midget. He doesn't seem to know that. He seems to get more upset when I call him Frodo or
I guess
or mini me or something.
I guess everybody's different, and again, I'm not going to speak for anybody. And if something doesn't bother them, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. And if something does bother them, I'm not going to tell them they're wrong. I'm trying to play it safe because, the best way I could say it is I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable ever. And that's not just because I'm one of those woke Democrats. It's because I just, in general, like people to be comfortable around me. So I won't use language that I feel would make other people uncomfortable. And if someone says, hey, that doesn't bother me, you could say that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm still not going to use the phrase or verbiage that other people find offensive just because you're okay with it. That's the way I play it. And that's not just with little people, but that's people of all races and religion and, size and shape and everything else. I just like to play it safe because I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable by my vernacular. 20 years ago, we used to say a lot of crazy things on the internet that I'd be ashamed
of someone knowing I said today. And I would like to let those things be in the past. And, like we mentioned Trey Miguel, like we've mentioned Jay Briscoe, and so many other people have used these words in the past. And I'm not saying it was ever okay to say it, but once you know better, you do better. At least that's what I like to do. And now that we know better, we should do better. At least, again, that's my opinion.
Now, one thing's for sure, every midget I know hates to be called Peter Dinklage.
There was something really exciting that happened this past weekend. We talked about the NWA news, of course. Richard Holiday defending his Midwest Championship successfully. Thrillbilly Silas Mason had back-to-back defenses successfully. We didn't mention it here, but on the pre-party we talked about EC3 beating Carson Drake for what we can only guess is his last match with the NWA. But also down in your neck of the woods, Jaden, and down in I say down in, but I mean in New Jersey, we had a title match for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, and our very own Vinny the Fixer was in peril.
Yeah, he got caught this time. He brought the knucks out. In fact, he wasn't even going to get caught. He knew he was in trouble, so I think he just brought the knucks out and got the disqualified on purpose.
Okay.
But Twitch, Lucas DeSandro, he brought a lot of strikes, and I don't think Vinny has saw such an offense of strikes like DeSandro before, and it threw him off. And DeSandro, he came close to maybe being a new champion. There might be a rematch sometime in the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators or Mawa. I think that'll be something, in the future. So keep an eye out on the dogprowrestling.com and check out the Instagram and TikTok and all the other things that Dog does. So maybe you can see something in the future, because I know there's at least one match that Vinny's scheduled for, if he's still champion, that has not been announced. So maybe one, who knows what else might be Lucas DeSandro in the future. You never know.
Well, we do know that his upcoming title defenses, if he championship defenses, if he remains champion, he does have matches against Adrian Soriano on March 6th at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey, rustic Glassboro, New Jersey. He also is scheduled to have a title defense against Ty Thomas at the next championship defense at the next MAWA event at the Summerdale VFW in Summerdale, New Jersey. And then he is supposed to be potentially wrestling a match at the April 4th South Jersey Geek Fest, where he'll be defending his championship. Again, if he is successful against Adrian Soriano and successful against Ty Thomas, his championship will be on the line.
Yeah, there's a lot of scheduled matches coming up, but cards always subject to change. Vinny has been, if he actually defeats Adrian Soriano, he will be the fastest to 13 wins out of any dog champion. And the 13 wins is what Chance Prophet, when he set the benchmark as the first dog champion, he went to 13 wins. And then, after that, it was Damian Wayne and a lot of other wrestlers. And after that, but this is the fastest. If he comes out as champion, this will be the fastest. We'll see a 13 wins for Vinny the Fixer, or we'll see a new champion with the Rowan After Hours Heritage Cup winner, Adrian Soriano, who won that tournament to get this championship match.
And that's kind of wild to me to think about, when there's been so many good champions in the past. And, like Ray Jazz didn't get to 13 victories, and Breaker Morant didn't get to 13 victories. So we're in uncharted territory, as Chance Prophet was the first to get to 13. We'll see if Vinny can do it as well.
Yeah, and again, he'll be the fastest to do so. Vinny's been breaking records along with breaking necks and breaking jaws. So he's been a fighting champion. Give him that credit. He may not like how he's been winning these matches or how he's been escaping with the championship, but he's been out there doing it, and he's fought the who's who and a wide variety of opponents of all kinds of styles. And there's a lot in the future for Benny the Fixer, I think, for big matches. And whether he's champion or not, Benny the Fixer has always been a fixture of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling. That is, at least since he debuted in Clayton, New Jersey against Breaker Morant. And he's been a fan favorite, and he's been a heel, but he's been a mainstay and one of the most talented wrestlers in Dog, and he's earned that championship, and he's doing everything he can to keep it.
Well, that's pretty cool, man. And and then that's going to wrap it up for us. But I did want to say this real quick. Shout out to Mecha Wolf, former NWA World Tag Team Champion twice and a guest of the show. This weekend, he'll be part of the main event. I think it's the main event for the AAA on Fox in Latin America. They made the premiere episode available on YouTube. I don't know if they're going to do it this weekend for this episode, but it's El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. defending his Latin American AAA championship against good pal Mecha Wolf. So we're rooting for you, Mecha Wolf. We hope you bring gold home to the Mecha Wolf factory of music and wrestling. And good best of luck to you if you're watching. I doubt you are, but even if you aren't, we're sending you our best wishes, right?
Yes.
That's going to do it for us. Jaden, is there anything else you want to plug, or did we get a good plug of Dog already?
That's a good plug. I'm tired.
All right. Well, we'll call it a night. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back on Thursday. Jaden, DKM, and myself will be covering next week's Power, plus breaking down all the news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. Don't forget that Talos is challenging former NWA U.S. Tag Team Champion, two-time Tag Team Champion, will be challenging for the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown title on the 26th. So that's just a few days away, and we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, once that match takes place. But until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and anyone else, we'll see you at the matches. Good night now. Or now.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we